2 days before death walked in, the air in the estate was thick with laughter and wine, and nobody suspected the blood that would stain the velvet drapes. But by the time the first scream shattered the night, the game had already become something far more sinister. 10 years ago, Evelyn Moreau invited her closest friends to a murder mystery dinner party at her estate. The guests arrived on a cold Friday evening in October. There was Rowan Graves, the hotshot's defense attorney, Marion Vale, the true crime Julian Grant, the filmmaker, Dr. Iris Chun, the behavioral psychologist, and Theo and Ren Abbott, the influencer couple. Also Nico Ferros, the Broadway set designer, Camille Rhodes, the journalist, and 3 others. They were greeted by Evelyn in the grand vestibule of her home. "Welcome to the game," she said, her eyes sparkling. "Tonight we solve a murder." But Evelyn had planned every detail of the dinner party with obsessive precision. After all, it wasn't every day that you hosted a murder mystery for your closest friends, especially not when one of them might actually be a killer. What happens next, you ask? Well, let's just say the lines between real and pretend began to blur as the fire crackled, and the storm outside grew. The scent of blood carried something electric beneath it, like goes on before a storm or burnt copper. Somewhere between the scream and the silence, something inside the room had shifted. The game had ended before it even began. The first lie. Julian Grant lay still in his chair, head lolled awkwardly to the side, crimson soaking into the linen beneath him. The once playful atmosphere curdled as gasps turned into cries, and someone knocked over a glass in a panic, shattering it against the mahogany floor. Evelyn's smile faltered. "Is this part of the act?" Ren asked shakily, eyes darting to the others. "No." Camille moved first, already at Julian's side, 2 fingers pressed to his neck. "No pulse." She said it with the kind of stunned flatness that follows shock, as if the words had to be spoken to become real. Marion stumbled back, hand over her mouth. "Jesus Christ, are you serious? He's not breathing," Camille said again, louder this time. Everyone froze. The thunder outside cracked like a bone snapping. Rowan Graves stepped forward next. His lawyer instincts kicked in with practiced control, though the tremor in his voice betrayed the facade. "We need to call the police. There's no service up here," Iris muttered. "We lost signal 20 minutes from the estate." And Evelyn said the door's locked from the outside. Nico added, "That was a joke, right?" But Evelyn was no longer smiling. Her eyes were locked on Julian's body, her knuckles white against the back of her chair. "I have the only key," she whispered. Rowan turned to her. "Then open the damn door." Evelyn didn't move. "I can't," she said. "It's not on me." They scattered like panicked animals, searching the manor for a way out, testing windows, pounding on doors, trying to force the lock. Nothing gave. The place was built like a fortress, pre-war, with reinforced doors and thick stone walls. Iris came down from the 2nd floor with a grim report. "Upstairs windows are barred, most of the guest rooms are locked, and someone unplugged the lamp." Panic bloomed like rot. It was Rohan who brought everyone back together, dragging a chair into the middle of the room and demanding silence. "Look," he said, "we are 8 people stuck in a house where one of us has just been murdered. Until we contact the police or escape, we treat this like a crime scene." You think someone here actually killed Julian?" Theo asked, voice trembling. "He's dead, isn't he?" Rowan snapped. Camille sat heavily beside the hearth. Her face was pale, and her hands still trembled where wine had stained her sleeve. Julian had been her ex. Complicated, messy. Their last text exchange had ended in threats and silence. She looked up, haunted. It was supposed to be a game. Nico, ever the dramatist, finally spoke from the back of the room. Then maybe someone didn't like the rules. "Don't joke," Marion hissed, clutching her silk shawl around her like a shield. "I'm not." The storm outside worsened. Trees bent against the wind. The power flickered again. And from somewhere deep in the walls, something creaked, something that sounded like movement. Evelyn stood at last, the spell over her broken. She moved toward the hearth and pulled out the leather box that had held the murder mystery materials. The character cards were still inside. She opened them one by one, laying them on the floor like a tarot spread. "The rolls haven't even been dealt yet," she said quietly. "Whoever killed Julian did it for real." Rowan crossed the room and picked up a card at random. "These are too detailed. These aren't just game bios." He turned the card over. It read, Camille Rhodes, age 34, divorced, currently unemployed, suspected involvement in disappearance of James Morrow unconfirmed. Camille shot to her feet. "What the hell is this?" She grabbed the card from Rowan's hand and read it herself, the blood draining from her face. "Not part of the game." Iris leaned over, reading another card aloud. Nico Ferros, blacklisted from Broadway in 2022, accused of plagiarizing set designs from deceased partner. Unresolved legal proceedings. Everyone exchanged glances. One by one, they opened their character sheets and discovered they weren't characters at all. Their sins, their scandals, their secrets. Every card pulled the skin back on something real. "Who the hell wrote these?" Theo demanded. But they all knew the answer. Evelyn stood in the flickering light, eyes far away. "I wanted us to finally tell the truth." "About what?" Marion asked. breath catching in her throat. Evelyn turned slowly, her voice quieter than the fire's crackle. About James. The name hung in the air like smoke, thick, suffocating. Julian had known James. They all had. Evelyn's husband, gone 6 months. Presumed dead. Disappeared one stormy night from this very estate, and no one ever saw him again. It wasn't a game, Evelyn whispered. It was a trap. Somewhere deep within Alderwick Manor. An Alderwick Manor. Or maybe it was something else, something breathing beneath the floorboards. In that moment, no one moved, because they all felt it. They were not alone. The ghosts in the walls. Night clung to the manor like oil, thick and suffocating. The fireplaces did little to hold off the cold seeping through the stone walls. The body had been moved covered with a sheet, laid on the chaise in the drawing room, but the imprint of Julian's death remained like a bloodstain on the soul of the house. They no longer spoke in voices above a whisper. Theo and Ren sat shoulder to shoulder in the music room, scrolling uselessly through their phones for signal, the screens glowing with the same message. No service. I hate this, Ren whispered. I hate this so much. We shouldn't have come. We didn't know. You did. Her voice cracked like glass. You knew Evelyn wasn't okay. You said it yourself on the drive here, that she'd been acting weird. Obsessed. Theo looked away. I didn't think she was planning a murder. Ren's lips trembled. Then maybe you weren't paying attention. In the great hall, Rowan and Iris gathered the group back into a circle around the fire. Shadows twisted across their faces as the flames danced, casting long fingers of black on the walls. The atmosphere had changed again from panic to suspicion. Rowan wasted no time. We need to treat this like an investigation. Until we get out or reach the police, we treat everyone as a suspect, including Evelyn. Evelyn didn't flinch. You're assuming I killed him, she said. Rowan's tone was surgical. You invited us. You locked the doors. You created a scenario in which someone could die without consequence. She held his gaze. You think I'm stupid enough to commit murder in a house full of lawyers, journalists, and a criminal psychologist? No, Iris said. I think he might be desperate enough. Marion had moved to the bookshelf, pulling out one of the old mystery novels Evelyn used to love. Her hands were shaking as she flipped through the yellowed pages. These cards, she said. They weren't just background stories, they were confessions. How the hell did you get all this information? I listened, Evelyn replied. I watched. I connected dots none of you thought anyone else could see. You hacked us, Nico spat. Emails, calls. You stalked us. I didn't need to, Evelyn said. You told me everything yourselves. Over wine on long nights, in passing, in grief, especially after James' name again. A silence fell so loud it made their ears ring. James Moreau had been magnetic, charming in a way that felt like a secret you wanted to be let in on. A filmmaker, a theorist, a collector of dark things. He fascinated and unsettled. He was Evelyn's husband, but everyone at that dinner table had loved him more, hated him in their own way. Julian had been his collaborator. Camille, his comp. Marion had interviewed him for a podcast series based on true events that never aired. And Theo. Theo had once whispered a drunken confession to Ren about a kiss shared with James beneath the manor's old staircase. The things they all knew, the things they pretended not to know. No, none of it could be ignored. Upstairs, Iris wandered the halls alone. She wasn't afraid of ghosts. She was afraid of human beings. Her footsteps echoed through the long corridor, carpet muffling each step, chandeliers casting refracted light through antique glass. Then she heard it, a soft thump, then another. Behind the guest room door at the end of the hall, she turned the knob locked. I know someone's in there, she called. No answer. Her breath fogged in the air. She took a step back, heart pounding, then heard the whisper. Not from the room. From the wall beside her. Help me. She pressed her ear to the plaster. James, she whispered. Nothing but behind the wall. Something moved. Downstairs, Rowan had begun drawing a crude map of the manor using napkins and memory. There's got to be another exit, old service tunnel, a basement door, something. Camille watched him. What if someone never left? What do you mean? I mean, she said, voice brittle. What if James didn't disappear? What if he was buried somewhere here? Or worse, what if he'd never left these walls? Are you suggesting Evelyn killed him? Ren asked. Camille looked toward the fire. Or maybe one of us did. Silence. Then Evelyn rose. I think it's time you all saw the truth. She motioned for them to follow her down a narrow passage behind the kitchen pantry. The air was colder there, old and sharp, like dust and stone. At the end of the hallway was a heavy iron door. She pulled it open. Inside, a private study, untouched, preserved. James's study. Film reels stacked in towers, a wall of journals, a massive corkboard covered in pins and string and photographs. At the center, all of their faces, notes scribbled beside each. Events, times, connections. What the hell is this? Nico breathed. A map of guilt, Evelyn said. James knew something. He was planning something, and then he vanished. Iris stepped forward. No, she whispered. He didn't vanish. He was silenced. Suddenly, the power cut. Total darkness. A scream echoed from the hallway behind them. Not one of theirs. Something or someone else was in the house. In the dark, time unraveled. The manor stopped being a house and became something older, something sentient. Every whisper in the walls, every breathless moment, felt like it had been waiting for them to return. Waiting for this night. The chamber beneath, the scream echoed for 6 full seconds. Then Rowan lit the first match. Its trembling flame illuminated only his face, gaunt and rigid with fear. Nico grabbed a pair of heavy brass candlesticks from the mantel and lit them quickly. They emerged from James's study like figures from a dream, passing through narrow halls with flickering candlelight. Each shadow alive, each turn feeling like it might be the last. Camille was the first to speak. That scream, it didn't sound like any of us. It wasn't, Evelyn said. There's someone else in the house. Don't start that haunted house shit now, Theo muttered, pacing behind her. But Marion Hoots had grown up on stories like these, had built her career on unraveling real crime and myth. Gus stared into the dark and whispered, what if someone never left? Iris led them back through the corridor toward the servants' stairwell, only to stop at the base of a narrow door, almost invisible against the paneling. She touched the wood. It was warm. Back away, she said, kneeling to inspect the floorboards. A breeze, faint but present, moving up. There's something under us. The group worked together to pull up the slats, revealing a trapdoor with an iron ring, rusted shut. It took Rohan and Nico 10 minutes to pry it open. The air that came up was not air at all, it was memory. They descended one by one. The ladder was old but held. Beneath the manor was a subcellar no one remembered. A chamber made of stone and brick, circular, with an arched ceiling and a strange ring of symbols carved into the floor. Books were stacked in rotting crates, candles long melted into the wood. A film projector sat dormant on a tripod pointed at a blank wall, and in the center of it, all chained to a chair, was a man, or what remained of one. Camille's gasp was strangled. James, he was thinner, bearded, eyes sunken, barely conscious. But it was him, the man they'd all presumed dead. Theo fell to his knees. Ren turned to Evelyn. You know, she said, trembling. I didn't swear. I thought he ran. I thought he left me. He didn't leave, James croaked. His voice was dust. They made sure I couldn't. They surrounded him, overwhelmed by disbelief. Marion rushed to his side, feeling his pulse. Iris knelt beside her, already checking his cognitive response. James winced as Camille touched his shoulder. What happened? She asked, voice cracking. He turned his eyes toward Rowan, then to Nico, then to all of them. I found something. On the reels. Something I wasn't supposed to. What kind of something? Nico asked. Footage, James whispered, from when we stayed here that summer. But there was more. One of you, someone recorded what really happened. He looked at Evelyn, whose hands were now over her mouth, trembling. You don't remember the night in the garden? The bonfire, the fight? You said it was an accident. No, James whispered. Someone died, and we buried them. The silence that followed was a wound. You're lying, Rowan said quickly, but his voice cracked. James looked at them, each in turn. Do you remember the old well? He asked. Don't, Camille breathed. It's beneath the rose garden. Evelyn's eyes went wide. I covered it after. I planted everything over it, because you didn't want anyone to look, James said, coughing. I tried to tell you. You wouldn't believe me. Nico stood suddenly, panic blooming in his chest. No, we were drunk. It was a prank. Not a prank, James whispered. It was a girl. Marion clutched her stomach, nausea crawling up her throat. There was a girl, she said slowly. That night, she came to the party. She wasn't on the guest list. James nodded. She threatened to tell, and one of you killed her. Theo screamed. Stop, his hands were shaking, his eyes were wild. Why are we even listening to him? He's been locked in a dungeon. He's insane. Ren backed away from him slowly. What aren't you telling us? Theo didn't respond. A soft hum filled the room. The projector. No one had touched it. The reel spun to life, flickering light against the far wall. Dust danced through the beam as frames clattered by footage played him 6 years ago. A bonfire in the garden. Laughter. Dancing. Drinking. A girl with long black hair. She argued with someone off screen. Then a scream. Then the camera fell. They watched in silence as someone had seen dragged a body across the garden. Camille turned away. Marion sank to the floor. Ren looked at Theo again. He was frozen. James coughed. She told me what happened and I confronted you, so you locked me down here. The last mask. The gunshots shattered more than silence. It tore the veil from every secret, every lie, every mask. In the end, it wasn't just about who died. It was about what they'd buried and who they became to survive it. The report of the pistol echoed in the stone chamber like a cannon. Then a scream. Not of pain, of horror. Ren dropped to her knees beside Camille, who had collapsed, unconscious but not bleeding. The shot had gone wide, ricocheted off the brick wall behind them. The figure holding the gun now stood fully in the light, revealing the last face anyone expected. Iris. The criminal psychologist. The quiet observer, always watching, always waiting. She raised the pistol again, lavish.com. To calm, put it down, Rowan said, his voice low and steady. She didn't. You want to know what happened that night? She asked, eyes glazed. What really happened? Iris Evelyn warned. Don't die was there, she said. Not by accident. Not as a guest. I followed the girl. Her name was Clara. She was my sister. The world seemed to tilt. Nico whispered. What? She ran away when she was 17. Fell in with rich kids. With drugs. With you. Iris's voice didn't waver, even as tears filled her eyes. She was supposed to be a cautionary tale. Instead, she ended up dead. Buried under a garden while you all danced and drank and forgot. James groaned from the floor, trying to lift himself. I tried to expose them. I know, Iris said, looking down at him. That's why I didn't kill you. Ren rose, eyes wide. White, you were the one who kept him alive. I fed him. Her voice trembled, but none of you noticed. You didn't even look. Marion shook her head. All this time you planned this. You got into Evelyn's inner circle. Built trust. I needed answers, Iris said. And justice. Theo took a step forward. You have no idea what it was like that night. The fear. The chaos. I know exactly what it was. Iris snapped. It was murder. And you all let it happen. Not all of us knew, Evelyn said. You all knew enough to stay silent, Iris replied. And silence is complicity. She raised the gun again. I should kill you. No, Ren said, voice cracking. If you do this, you become what you hate. You become one of us. Iris blinked, shaking now. The gun lowered, just an inch. Then Rowan lunged. The struggle was violent, chaotic. The pistol fired again into the wall. Rowan twisted her wrist. The gun clattered to the stone. Evelyn kicked it across the chamber. They all stood in a circle again just as they had around the bonfire 6 years ago. James finally spoke. We can't bury this. Not again. Camille helped him to his feet. So what do we do? Evelyn looked at the group. We confess. All of us together we tell the truth, and if we go to prison, Nico asked, then maybe we finally pay, Marion said softly, for everything. Rowan looked at the broken, half-buried evidence. The footage, the journals, the map of guilt. This is going to destroy us. It already did, Ren replied. They brought James up into the light. The morning sun broke through the stained glass windows of the manor for the first time in days. Police sirens, faint but growing louder, echoed from beyond the gates. Camille had made it through on the emergency band radio. They were coming. Iris, in tears, surrendered quietly. Evelyn handed the officers a box filled with files, tapes, and the projector reel. I want to make a statement, she said. They all did. 1 year later, the documentary aired on every major streaming platform, titled Beneath the Velvet Veil. Based on true events, it became one of the most watched thriller movies in English, a hybrid of crime, mystery, and psychological horror. It chronicled the real-life story of betrayal, buried secrets, and redemption. Clips from the original footage were blurred for privacy, but the impact was undeniable. It wasn't just about a murder mystery dinner party anymore. It was about how far people will go to protect their lives, and what it takes to finally speak the truth. Evelyn sits on a talkshowset.com/centered. The irony, she says, looking into the camera, is that I planned a fake murder mystery dinner party, and it uncovered a real one. She smiles, not out of pride, out of peace. If this resonated with you, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share with someone who needs to hear this. Theo's eyes glistened. I didn't mean to kill her. Ren staggered backward, as if slapped. You told me it was Evelyn who changed after that night, but it was you. Theo fell to his knees, weeping. I didn't know what else to do. And when James found the footage, Rowan spoke for the first time in minutes. You chained him up. You let us think he was dead. Evelyn stepped forward, her eyes a storm. You ruined my life. Theo looked up, choking on regret. I loved her. Evelyn's voice was ice. I loved James. She lifted the iron poker from beside the furnace. The air cracked with silence. Camille stepped between them. Stop, this ends here. But behind her, James whispered, no, it ends. There. He pointed up, to the stairwell, the sound of boots, a figure, a gun.